Welcome to Moose on the Loose. My name's David. Today we have a clip of Pierre ripping another reporter. These reporters don't seem to be prepared. I don't know why. You'll hear one of them actually sounds really nervous. This comes from the situation with Daniel Smith announcing new measures being put in place in Alberta to limit trans kids from transitioning any sort of physical alterations until they're 18 and hormonal stuff from 16 plus. So first off, let's take a look at this quick interview as Daniel Smith is just in Ottawa, and then I'll show you the clip of Poilievre being asked about this.
Listen, I want to begin first and foremost as to why you thought it was important to introduce these trans policies. You know, why not leave it to schools? Why not leave it to healthcare professionals, even sports bodies? Why insert the government into a matter that essentially is very personal?
Well, I can tell you I had an early warning sign a few months ago when I met with Lois Cardinal, who is a transgender woman she was actually seeking medical assistance and dying in Alberta because she had surgery, she thinks prematurely, felt forced into it, and then didn't get very good aftercare. And it got me thinking, if she started that process of transition at 19 and has those kinds of regrets, we want to make sure that these decisions are being made at an age-appropriate level where kids are able to deal with the consequences, long-term consequences of their choices, and we think that happens at a bit of an older age. So we wanted to set some guideposts in place, and that's the reason why we came through with the policies.
Yeah, well, except that, you know, conservatives often talk about individual choice. You yourself have warned against government overreach. Is this not a form of government overreach? If there is one particular case, for example, where someone is expressing regret, again, why not just turn to healthcare professionals, let their professional bodies create different policies as opposed to inserting the government?
Well, because there isn't any one viewpoint on this around the world. In fact, we're seeing in the UK with the closure of their Tavistock clinic. We're seeing in the Netherlands where the protocol began that they're also taking a bit more of a cautious approach. Same with several other European countries. And so we think it's important if people are concerned that kids are making life-altering decisions, irreversible decisions too young. We want to make sure we're doing the proper diligence, giving them the proper support, and making sure that they're making those decisions in an appropriate age. So those are the reasons why we're doing it.
But to my understanding, the only thing that really is irreversible is gender reassignment surgery, bottom surgery, for example. Everything else can be dealt with medically afterwards if there's a change of course, is there not?
I think at Tavistock they discovered that 100% of the kids who begin with puberty blockers go on to do cross-sex hormones. So it is the beginning of the process, and we want to make sure that when kids are making that decision that they're making it at an age where they know the consequences and they know the pathway that they're on. And so the feedback that we've gotten as well is that parents want to be involved in what's going on in their kids' lives, because these decisions, once they're made, happen very quickly, and they're going to need all the support of the loving adults in their lives around them. So we want.
This is like the most level-headed, rational I don't really understand the crazy response by liberals and all that. This just seems like common sense logic. You want to make sure that someone is at an age where they can make proper decisions. When it comes down to it, you can't drive until you're 16, you can't buy alcohol until you're 18, you can't buy a lotto ticket until you're 18, you can't go into casinos until you're 18 or 19, depending where you are. BC it's 19. This just seems like common sense and logic to me.
We want to make sure that there isn't any division between the child and the adults who are their caregivers.
But if parents decided, for example, that their child in conversation should be pursuing a hormone blocker or some type of gender-affirming therapy. Under these proposals, if you're under the age of 16, that's not available to you. Is it really the government's place to say it shouldn't be available to you if you have individual consent and parental consent?
Well, it's not a parent's decision on those kinds of issues. It's not a doctor's decision on those kinds of issues. It's not a politician's decision. It's the person's decision. And so we have to make a judgment about whether or not that child is mature enough to understand the long-term consequences of affecting their reproductive health, their ability to have children. And so most practitioners agree that age of maturity comes somewhere around age 16. And that's part of the reason why we put the policies in place.
So now we've got the base framework of what we're talking about here. The reporters in this interview for Pierre Poilievre asked him about this, and you're going to have fun with this one.
Jerome from Omni News. An internal email obtained by the Globe and Mail shows your party has advised MPs not to comment publicly on Alberta's new transgender health and education policies. Why are you telling MPs not to comment on this? And can you please tell us your opinion on your party's position on decreasing restrictions on transgender youth?
Sorry, what's that? What was the last part of your question?
Why are you telling MPs not to comment on this? And can you please tell us your opinion on your party's position on increasing restrictions on transgender youth?
Okay, well, your question contains falsehoods. You should tell me what restrictions you're referring to. That's the question they gave you. Who gave you that question?
That's from my office, from my desk.
Which desk is that?
It's from Omni News.
Okay. This is the problem. Justin Trudeau and the media have been spreading disinformation to distract from his doubling of housing costs, his quadrupling of the carbon tax, the crime wave that he's unleashed across the country. And they're doing that by spreading disinformation on this and other issues. Justin Trudeau does not want to defend his appalling record of sending 2 million people to food banks. And so he's spreading disinformation on this subject with the help of the media, who want to cover up for his failures. Our approach is to focus on our common sense plan, to axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime.
Thank you. This will be the final question.
He didn't want to say anything after that. He didn't answer the question. And when you think about it, how many people does this really affect in Canada? According to the internet, it's 59,460 people, which is, so after doing some quick math, 60,000, 40 million people, it's 0.15% of the population. This issue basically doesn't affect most of Canadians. And I think it's pretty smart for Poilievre not to try to split any sort of support over something that really doesn't affect most people in Canada. There's really no benefit to him to try to back up Danielle Smith. And that reporter who said he was from Omni News was clearly trying to do some sneaky question. You heard him the second time he asked it. It was very clear. He's saying,
Sorry, what's that? What was the last part of your question?
Why are you telling MPs not to comment on this? And can you please tell us your opinion on your party's position on increasing restrictions on transgender youth?
So on an increasing restrictions on transgender's youth. He's trying to paint the brush that this is their policy, not Danielle Smith's policy. It's really not a good move for him to even get involved in any of that. And that's exactly what he did. He just said, these are the big issues I'm going to tackle. Didn't even entertain the gotcha moment that reporter was trying to do.
Sue from CBC. Just to follow up on the previous question and the video Danielle Smith released. Where do you represent? Sorry, where do the Conservatives stand on these issues that she talked about in the video?
Oh, we stand for common sense, like on everything else. Our approach is to axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime. And we extend that same. We extend common sense to all issues. Now, Justin Trudeau wants to use this as a wedge issue. He's now trying to distract from doubling housing costs, quadrupling the carbon tax, unleashing crime and chaos in our communities, forcing 2 million people to the food bank. And so he is spreading disinformation on this subject. And it's time for Justin Trudeau to stop distracting and dividing Canadians. Let parents raise kids and provinces run schools and hospitals. That's my common sense approach, and it's time to bring it home. Thank you.
You can hear when she answered that question, she was either cold or very nervous. And considering what happened with the previous reporter there, where he kind of, it's like, oh yeah, that's my office's question. What kind of reporter shows up to this and can't even ask their own questions? Like, what is that? It's kind of disgraceful, man. Like, you're just listening to her again.
Where do you represent? Sorry, where do the Conservatives stand on these issues that she talked about in the video?
Where do the Conservatives stand on these issues you talked about in the video? She is nervous. I don't think she's cold. I think she's terrified of asking a question that's probably written on her paper, and she had to like reword it because she knew Poilievre was about to squash her. That's what I think's going on there. Yeah, that's where we're going to leave this one. Let me know in the comments down below. Do you think Poilievre should have answered the question very clearly that he supports or not? Or do you think it was smarter or better that he didn't and just talked about what's important in Canada, what affects most Canadians? Let me know down below. Make sure you hit the thumbs up button, subscribe, and turn on those post notifications. Stay warm, stay fed. I'll see you guys in the next one.